And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third and final in this third segment, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the possibility of him playing his final game in his NFL career. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers has had a very, very long career, one of the longest careers by an NFL player in recent memory. Obviously, we know that Tom Brady, he played till he was 45 and things like that. But Aaron Rodgers, he's had a very long career as well. And aside from Tom in the last few years, he was one of the oldest quarterbacks in the NFL, and he still is one of the oldest quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, he's been playing since 2000, he's been the starter since 2008, but he's been in the league for almost 20 years as of right now, and going into the next season, he's going to be in the league for over 20 years, and it's been an up and down slope for Aaron Rodgers and his career. There were a lot of ups, and there were also a lot of downs, but For this season in particular, this is by far his most disappointing season, in my opinion. But based off of, because there have been a lot of reports going around that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, they might part ways. And not only Aaron Rodgers, but as well as Davante Adams, he might also part ways with the Jets after this season as well. There have been a lot of reports that have been mounting as of recently, going into this final week of the NFL. And while Aaron Rodgers, he's never really said that this was that he's made a decision. Like, he was very adamant about making the decision until he, quote, takes a break mentally. And he did also mention that this could be the final game of his career. Like, he didn't say exactly that he was going to retire, but he also didn't really close the book on that. Like, he could retire, but he also could just decide to go to another team or stay on the Jets. It's really up in the air as of right now. But with how the season went for the Jets, I think it could. It's progressively starting to look more and more like Aaron is going to retire. And he said recently, this game has given me a lot. I've given a lot back to it, and I'm thankful for it, per The Athletic. He continued the quote saying, I won't be thinking about that come game day. I'll just be enjoying this. I'm just trying to stay in the moment. But, of course, it's been a long career. I'm really proud of what I've been able to be a part of, what I've been able to accomplish, and also looking forward to a nice mental and physical rest. Now, after Adam Schefter of ESPN reported this about what Rodgers said, his post garnered plenty of reactions, with many calling Aaron Rodgers' quarterback career over. Like, I mean, he's 41 years old, and obviously you can't be doing this forever. And Brady fans, don't you dare say, of course, if it was Tom Brady, he would have been playing for much longer, because, again, there were a lot of things put in place that allowed Brady to be able to play that long. I don't think there are that many things put in place for Aaron Rodgers to play that long. Like, Brady, he joined a team that was ready, and a team that was already, built for a championship, and that allowed him to stay in the league much longer than what I think he expected. And now Aaron, on the other hand, this Jets team, obviously there's a lot that needs to be worked on with this Jets team, and I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to want to either deal with that, and I'm not sure there's going to be any other team that is going to be shopping for Aaron after this year. Like, this is by far his most disappointing year as a starting quarterback. There has never been a year close to that. Like, it's been that bad. So, personally, I think Aaron should retire. I think this should be, it should be it for him. That should be, no more games for him. That's it. He should be done. Without a doubt, he should be done. And, I mean, this season, the numbers, they don't look that bad for a 41-year-old quarterback. 3,623 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. It was a very, very disappointing year, because this was the year where the Jets were expected to get over the hump, and they ultimately did not do that. That's just, a lot of people were expecting a Jets championship. And not only that, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, they pulled a little publicity stunt going on the Pat McAfee show just for them to go 2-8. not only is that embarrassing, but I feel like that is a sign that this is the end of Aaron Rodgers, and this is like the final straw of his entire career. Like I don't think if there was any time for a player to consider retirement, it would be right now for Aaron Rodgers. His numbers, while they're more or less similar to the numbers that he put up last year in Green Bay. Last year in Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers, it wasn't really all that great. Now, Aaron, for his entire career, he is by far one of the best quarterbacks that I've ever seen. He has 4 MVPs. I thought he was going to end up tying Peyton Manning for the most MVPs because Peyton has 5 of them, but ultimately that did not happen. He's had great seasons. He had a 4,428 passing season with 40 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He has been by far one of the best quarterbacks in recent memory. And to think that year that I was talking about, 2016, excuse me, that wasn't even his best year. His best year was probably in 2011 when he won the MVP, threw for 4,643 yards, 45 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And he got benched. He did not play in the final game, and this was a 16-game season at the time. The fact that he did not play in that final game and was still able to put up monster numbers like this is nothing short of impressive. But again, he's done a lot for the game. He's put up crazy stats. But I will say, despite the fact that he has done a lot for the game, he could have done so much more, especially in the postseason. As we know, Aaron Rodgers, he only has 1 Super Bowl ring in his entire career. And for somebody as talented as Aaron Rodgers is, and someone as talented as he was back in the day, I expected him to win a lot more. And I expected him to win like maybe 2 or at least 1 more than what he did in 2010. But a lot of bad things ended up going wrong that did not allow the Packers to get over that hump, get over that championship hump. Now, in 2010, obviously, after 2010, a lot of people were expecting the Packers to be a dynasty. And we might as well go ahead and talk about some of the more disappointing matches. In 2011, as you guys know, the Packers, they were the 1 seed, and they had the first round bye, and they went into Green Bay playing the Giants. And I'm sure most of you Packers fans already know this, and most of you Giants fans definitely know this, but basically the Giants waltzed into Lambeau and kicked the Packers to the curb. They put up like 37 points in that game, and that was the one game where Aaron Rodgers actually looked mortal. Similar to how in the college football playoffs we were talking about teams and players looking mortal in the most important game of the season. This is what happened to Aaron Rodgers in 2011 when he went up against the Giants. But while he did not play as well as he did in the regular season, I'm not going to sit here and say that he was the reason why the Packers ended up losing, because giving up 37 points in your home field is unacceptable. It's like there's no way around it. You let up 37 points. It's very difficult to beat a team like that. And it's that's just something that should never happen in when you're hosting a playoff game. That should never, ever happen. And while I will say that, again, Aaron didn't really play as good as he's used to playing, the defense that year was very bad. The defense was actually the worst in the league, but because of how good Aaron Rodgers was in that season in 2011, it didn't even matter how bad the defense was because Aaron had an answer for everything. And as the years went on, then the next matchup came in against the Seahawks, and I'm sure all of you Packers fans know exactly how that game went down. The Seahawks, they played about as horrendously bad as possible, and the Packers, they couldn't really capitalize on a lot of the mistakes that the Seahawks were making. Aaron Rodgers he messed up a couple of drives in the red zone, which resulted in the Packers taking a lot of field goals. Mike McCarthy was their head coach, by the way, so it makes sense why they ended up losing. Go figure. And he was also the coach against the Giants in 2011 when they lost 37-20. But in that Seahawks game, as we know, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they finally woke up in the final quarter of the game. They scored a touchdown, and then they ended up scoring another touchdown off of an onside kick. Remember when those used to be an actual trick play and would confuse special teams. Remember that? Because now you have to tell teams that you're going to do an onside kick, which I think is one of the dumbest rules in the NFL, period. But they were able to recover the onside kick. They scored a touchdown and then ended up getting a 2-point conversion to put them up by 3. Aaron Rodgers leads the Packers on a game-tying drive, and he never touches the ball again, which, of course, is very unlucky. And this obviously isn't in fact, most of the time when Aaron Rodgers gets into the playoffs and they tie the game in the end, he never touches the ball again. He's never won a coin toss in overtime in the postseason, which is very, very unlucky. But really, he's going to be... The sad part about Aaron Rodgers is that, to me at least, I think he's going to be remembered mainly for being a playoff choker, more so than what he's going to be remembered for what he does in the regular season. Most of the time, you're not in history and in sports history, you're only going to be remembered for how many times you were able to get it done when it mattered most. And Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, just was unable to do that in a lot of games. Obviously, we know about his blunders when going up against the 49ers, and there was also that major blunder back in 2020, I believe, when he matched up against Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game. This was the first time that the Packers had a home championship game with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, and they messed up royally. Aaron Rodgers was great in that game, despite what naysayers might say, where he threw for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards, and his only interception was on a play where there was obvious holding that wasn't called. Brady actually played worse than Aaron Rodgers did in that game, but as you guys know, people don't remember that Brady was playing bad in that game. They only remember that Aaron Rodgers lost in that game. So it's a bit unfortunate that that's how the way that the sports world works. And to add insult to injury, he only puts up, like, I want to say 9 points, right? He did not score a single touchdown in the divisional round against the 49ers in 2021. And we all remember that final year on Green Bay where he had a chance to make the playoffs and he ultimately ended up blowing it to the Lions. And then in 2023 when he ended up getting injured on the very first snap of the game. And now in this year where he failed to take the Jets to the playoffs in a year where they were expected to be great. And to add more insult to injury, in the most recent game that Aaron Rodgers played, he ended up benching himself and he threw 2 interceptions in that game that you really never see him make before 2022. And Tyrod Taylor scored a touchdown on the very first drive. So it's just very, very unfortunate career for Aaron. But that's all that I really have to say in this third segment, just talking about Aaron Rodgers and his career and the possibility that this might be the final game of it. But that's all that I have to say in this third segment. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the fourth segment where I talk about whether or not the first round bye in the college football playoffs is a good thing or a bad thing. So I'll be right back after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.